it's time for me to hand over to Matthew Kenworthy Gomez and the Amazing Pride Show. Over to you, Matthew.
Good afternoon, Pudge. Thank you very much. And yes, welcome to the Cornwall Pride Show. It's, of course, LGBTQ plus History Month. But before that, he doesn't know that I'm actually doing this, and the guest doesn't need to worry because it's not about the guest. It was obviously Valentine's Day, and I celebrated an incredible anniversary with my husband. My 10-year anniversary was a Monday. So if he watches this back, I just want to say I love you so, so, so much. And it's been an incredible 10 years, and I can't wait for more 10 years and many, many more. I'm going to stop because otherwise I'm going to cry. So anyway, it is LGBTQ plus History Month, and of course we have Mikey Stevens from the Royal Cornwall Hospital with us, our resident link into all things LGBTQ plus support within the network and in the main hospital of Cornwall, expert on all things LGBTQ plus networking as well across the NHS in Cornwall, with a fab team that supports the different networks here in Cornwall. If you're with us last week, you would have also seen our brand new format with the LGBTQ plus news from our guests and interview with getting to know you segment, which is called Queering. Hi, Mikey.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so, so much for joining us. You've been with us a couple of times.
Yep. Thanks for having me back again.
No, thank you. It's February. It's the month of love.
Yep.
Which is really lovely to have you with us. We've got some news. I was going to go straight into what you're doing, so let's have a look at the news. So we've got LGBTQ plus awards. Josh Cavello, Tom Daly, Emma Wiggs among sports personalities and nominees, as well as, how do I say this?
Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen Klopp and Lewis Hamilton have been shortlisted as celebrity allies. So this is a yearly LGBTQ plus awards. What do you think of these people? So Josh Cavello is the Australian football player, isn't he?
Yep. I remember seeing that in the news and thinking, finally.
Yes.
Because it just takes so long, and I think I'd had people talking about it before I'd seen the actual article and thought it was a football over here. And I was like, blimey, that came out of the blue. And then they said it was Australia, so it's like, well, that makes more sense because it doesn't feel like Britain's quite there yet with football.
I don't know how many professional football clubs there are, and there is still not one gay man that's come out. There have been many lesbian women and non-binary people that have come out within women's football, but not gay men.
No. And it's weird because rugby seemed to be able to.
I know, what is with this?
But then I'm a rugby fan, and I was talking to a friend the other day who asked why the playback isn't as good in football as it is in rugby, and I said because rugby's generally football done right.
And obviously Tom Daly. Did you see his alternative Queen's speech?
No, I didn't.
On Channel 4, you've got to watch it. He is in his GB, what's it? His
tracksuit.
No, his knitted, his crocheted GB top.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, it's just incredible. Just incredible. Highly recommend watching that if you haven't watched that. You know who's Jurgen Klopp? Have I missed someone?
I know the name.
Okay.
I think he's something to do with, he's not a footballer, but he is to do with football. I think I might be completely wrong.
And Lewis Hamilton, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
He wore
the Pride helmet throughout, even in Saudi Arabia, where he was,
and Qatar.
Yeah, where he was probably told not to.
Yes.
He did it anyway.
Yeah.
Did you see that final?
I did. What did you think?
That it was naughty. They just did an update in the news the other day on that one.
Have they really? What did they say?
They said that even if they'd sort of reversed the race decision and awarded it to him, he still wouldn't have won because Verstappen was ahead on points anyway. So it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the championship. It would have just changed the outcome of that particular race.
Okay.
But they are going to change the format for the next season so that they're not able to make the decisions the way they were made in that race. So something good came out of it.
And staying with the awards, I think we've got Ollie Alexander, Lady Gaga and Dua Lipa among leading activists and celebrity allies as figure names within the British LGBT Awards for 2022. So it talks about those amazing artists. Ollie, obviously.
Yeah.
Last year with It's a Sin.
Thank you for saying this last year, because I can't remember if that was last year or the year before, because it feels like we're still on the 5,000th day of January 2020.
Yes, it does.
So,
what did you think of It's a Sin?
Absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. Same as a lot of other people, complete wet, teary mess by the end of some episodes. Nearly got whiplash from one of the storylines because it's just not expected at all. Just we all sat there watching like, wait, what?
Russell T Davies, who's the writer and the director of it, obviously brought out Queer as Folk. He's infamous with Doctor Who and his other writing. Literally, the two queer projects that he's created are revolutionary.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he does next, because if he's done those two, because I remember I've seen Queer as Folk, I don't remember it when it came out, because I think that was long before I came out, and long before I knew any of those sorts of things existed. So, but having watched it and falling in love with it, and then seeing It's a Sin as well, it just makes you think, well, can't wait for the next he brings out, probably in another few years, because there's quite a gap between those two.
Yeah.
So,
obviously Lady Gaga, who's just ingenious.
Yeah. It almost feels like they just leave her name on that list permanently.
Forever.
Yeah.
Just
that's
embodied. Just embodied forever and ever and ever. Also, it is LGBTQ plus History Month, and Pink News brought out this incredible story around 4 brilliant boundary-breaking historical trans icons, which we absolutely wish we were able to be taught in school. So we'll just go through that. So Charlie Middleton, ambassador for the LGBTQ young people's charity, Just Like Us, writes about these trans icons. So we'll just scroll through them all. So Catalina de Arauos, just going through them now. Obviously Marsha P. Johnson, Alan L. Hart, and Roberta Cowell. Please, please, please do go on to Pink News and have a look at the information there, because there's so much more information in there for you to grab hold of, learn and understand, because they're all 4 incredible people. As we know, I'm not the most connected people to history, so it's definitely better for you to go through those. And last but not least, this is an interesting conversation to have. So lawyers have explained in simplest terms why barring trans people from single-sex spaces would be unlawful. So this is in Pink News as well. So any attempt to exclude trans people from single-sex spaces would be directly contravention of the Equality Act, legal experts have said, which is pretty obvious, because it's saying that if you're a particular sex, you have access to a single-sex space. That's in the Equalities Act. It's pretty black and white. So unless you wish to change the Equalities Act.
Feels like there's been a bit of a U-turn there, though, because I remember the last time the conversation around, I think particularly the really big debate around trans people in supposedly women's spaces. The last thing I heard on that, not that I've kept up to date with it, mind, was they were leaning more towards actually it shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
So it's great to see that that the lawyers got involved and said, actually, you know what, the laws are already quite clear on this. You need to learn it and stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of you're thinking about all the work that's being done and understanding around. There's a pause around the Gender Recognition Act, and there will be, the hope is that there'll be more work done on that. We've just got to get this right as a community. And obviously as well, I think Eliga, who's a human rights company within Portugal, do like their ILGA status of different countries of where it's safe to be an LGBTQ plus person and allies.
Oh, that's really good.
And the UK has slipped all the way down that list because of the challenges around trans human rights.
I did hear, I think last week, that Britain's now on a par with countries like Russia and Turkey.
Yes.
For the way it supports LGBT people, which is
and that was published
horrific.
by the European Commission as well.
That's it. Yeah.
So we've actively got to have these conversations. Why we've slipped down that, because we were leading the ways in so many different areas.
Yeah.
That's the news. To take a little bit of a break, of course, we have some incredible artists across the entire community. So let's have Layla Z. Susan with Feeling Good at 2021's Cornwall Pride.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. Call me and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. The lost sun on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Are you feeling good? Dragonflies out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when it's done, that's what I mean. And this whole world is a new world, and a whole world for me. And it's for me. And shine, you know how I feel, and stand up high, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling whole good. I'm feeling good. So good, I'm feeling good. Oh, 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 yeah, yeah. I'm feeling good. Thank you so much for having me. I love ya. I love you all. My name's Layla Z. Susan. I'll see you next year. Yeah. You've got to book me now, because I've told them I'm going to be here.
Thank you, Layla. Absolutely, yes. Of course, you will be part of Cornwall Pride 2022. Did I just say that? Oh, no. Okay, so you're definitely going to be there. Okay, fine, fine. Yeah, well done. So we've just caught up with the news, and we've caught up with you about the different networks before Royal Cornwall Hospital, and a reminder of actually what do you do within your role? Who are you?
So I'm dual rolled. So on Wednesdays today, I'm in my LGBT role as part of the Equality and Diversity team. I work with 2 other people, India and Edward, and between us we sort of cover as many of the protected characteristics as we can.
Yeah.
As sort of specialists in that area, making sure that the trust is doing everything it can and everything it should under the Equality Act and Public Sector Equality Duty to support all of our staff with not just, everyone always thinks it's just people with a protected characteristic, but technically we all have one regardless of what it is.
Well,
Being straight is still a protected characteristic.
Absolutely, we all have our intersectionalities, don't we?
Yeah, so it's making sure that equality is achieved rather than special treatment for any one particular group.
Yeah.
But sometimes it requires special attention to a particular group to raise them up, to have that equality with everybody else.
Yeah.
So to be able to achieve all of that, especially in one day, a week, I've got, we have our staff support networks. Quite a few of them now we share between our trust and the trust that runs the community hospitals, which works out really well because it means that there's best practice going on everywhere and I can't be everywhere at once. So it's great to be able to share that knowledge so that we're both trusts are providing the best support for our colleagues. So one thing that if they have a problem that we haven't encountered yet, we still get to learn from it and vice versa. India and Edward sort of, they have the same, they've got their networks as well. And they seem to be growing. I think since I was last here with you, we've gained another 2 networks. And I don't know how they appeared. They just keep growing every time the 3 of us in a room.
You also support the Veterans Network, don't you?
Yeah, so that's another one. We are hoping to have that one set up. So it was there before COVID.
Okay, so, hang on, so what actually is a network?
So,
what do you do within it? So
the networks are basically, I'll use the LGBT one as an example. So they meet every month, and they alternate each month between it being a proper structured, what support do people need, what issues have we encountered, and then the ones in between are more of a laid back, social, just get together and just have a chat about life, which is more needed than ever at the minute with all the pressures everyone's under. In the structured meetings, they're the ones where things really get sort of highlighted and changes happen, and that's usually the ones where things get brought to me in my role. For people to, it just gives staff a easier way of raising a concern in a safe space, because it's quite daunting going to a specific person and having a one-to-one conversation, because if you're not out, how do you have that one-to-one conversation with someone about a LGBT issue without letting them know that you're LGBT? It's quite difficult. Whereas they're able to raise concerns either through a colleague that they trust with that information, and then that gets brought to the network, so they remain anonymous, or they can do it in a safe space through the network. And usually you have other people there as well that have had a similar experience, and it encourages them to be like, I wasn't alone in that. I can speak up as well. And then I get to hear all of these things and discuss them with those colleagues, with the network, and India and Edward as well, and work out the best way forward that's not going to cost the trust a fortune, because it is still public money. But that is going to have a good impact on our colleagues, and just little changes that make their day that little bit easier, because we're not going to achieve it all in one go. But if at least each time we do something, it makes it a bit easier, we'll get there. It's
empowering, isn't it? Not only for the individuals, but for the NHS and the Royal Cornwall Hospital to be able to have, it's almost this two-way feedback loop, isn't that, between the staff, the network, and the organisation, so you can actually physically learn and change and support as well. You have patient groups as well. So it's not just the staff. You're able to listen to the patients. How does that work from a?
So the patient groups. So I'm very much staff facing in my role, but a lot of the work that I do is going to impact on patients. Not least because if we've got happy staff, in theory we have relatively happy patients. I mean, they are still patients. They're not going to be too happy. So the idea is that patients are able to speak up either individually with it used to be called the PALS team, they're now patient experience team. They speak directly with them, or they can raise it through the different patient groups, and it filters back, still comes back to that team anyway. That team are really, really good if they spot something that they think might be, or have confirmed is, in any way related to someone's sexuality or their gender, then they'll ask me and or India to come sit down and have a chat with them and discuss how we should be responding to that as a trust and work out sometimes it's positive. We get some good stuff. I'm always talking about when things go wrong. Stuff does go right sometimes.
Half glass full all the time.
Absolutely. But yeah, we get the chance to sit and look at it and learn from it and work out either if it went well and we weren't expecting it to, work out how we got it right so we can make sure we keep doing it.
Yeah.
And equally, if it didn't go so well, then why not? What did we miss that time around? How can we make it better? And the key thing there is we always feed back to the patient through the patient experience team and let them know what we're doing and how it's working.
Yeah.
And I think that's really key so that people can see that we are actually doing stuff. It's not just like in the old days where it was, oh yeah, we'll sort that, and then nothing happens. And which you get with large companies, they always make a promise and you never really get to see what goes on behind closed doors. So it's great that we're able to share that with people and coming down and talking to you as well has that same impact that we can say, actually, I promise we really are doing stuff and this is what we're up to.
Amazing. And it gives you, it's rather than just a piece of paper or something, you're physically coming along and actually sharing this information, which is so valuable for the staff, patients and us as a whole, because actually from someone that's within the queer community, I feel more empowered and more entrusted to be able to use the services that offer, because more often than not you hear of people who are really have anxiety about their sexual orientation, even going down to different services around sexual health, mental health, whatever it might be, but kind of being able to put a face to the reality and make it real, it's so important. You don't just do the LGBTQ plus networking lead.
No.
What's your main role in the hospital?
My other role, and it's now been made permanent, I work in the HR team, so it's really nice because it complements this role quite well. So it gives me a bit more flexibility throughout my working week, where I can pick up more issues that staff are bringing to us. It's also got the benefit of when my other colleagues in the HR team so we'll quite often obviously anonymise it, but we discuss a case that's going on if we're struggling with it and ask for support. We refer to it as like a hive mind within the team, and it's nice to make sure we're all staying consistent with how we're dealing with cases. But they've not had somebody in the team before that's had this role, because this role's never existed before. So they're really enjoying being able to have someone embedded within the team who knows about equality and diversity, that can say to them, oh, have you considered this element to it? And sometimes, usually they have, because we have got a really good team. But sometimes they're like, oh, no, I didn't see that in this case. And sometimes it's just, I'll have seen them in another thing somewhere and thought, oh, there's chance there that they might benefit from knowing about the LGBT network or any of the other networks. So I'm constantly like, they're probably sick of hearing me say it. I'm always saying, oh, catch up with Edward or India or me about that one, because you might need some support from us later down the line. Yeah, absolutely. And it's proven to be so useful, and it's really changing the way that we're able to support staff.
It's incredible, because when in HR for nearly 10 years ago myself, is understanding that there was always a need to be able to have these network groups and these conversations, but nothing ever really happened. There was kind of, it's a nice to have. For you to be able to have this is absolutely fantastic. So massive thank you to the Royal Cornwall Hospital to be able to build that within your structure and your networks. So when we're talking about feedback and we're talking about the network, have there been any changes over the last year that you've implemented, and what have they been?
I'm trying to remember what I said to you last time and see if I can think of anything new. So recently, and India helped me a lot on this one because she's got a lot more connections to me, she's been there longer. We realised that actually there's no sanitary bins in the gents' toilets.
Okay.
Which is a really, for a trust, NHS trust, it's kind of an odd thing to not have, and it's a really simple, quick fix. It really was as straightforward as an email with a couple of the people in the States to say, can we make this a thing? And even they said, yeah, we can't believe we haven't been doing that.
Wow.
Now it's a thing. So now, no matter how you identify and whichever toilet you end up finding yourself in, if you need to dispose of your sanitary waste, you can do that confidently and not worry that, oh, I'm not going to do that because I'm in the gents' loos. We've made that happen, which is fantastic. And it's not always as straightforward and nice and easy as that. Sometimes.
So is that specifically in the Royal Cornwall Hospital now, and or has that been rolled out to the community hospitals?
I don't know if the community hospitals may have already been doing it. I don't know. But I can certainly find out and let you know.
Absolutely. Well, that's such a huge thing. That's fantastic.
And it's such a, like, it's nice when we can identify things like that for an organisation our size, that's such a small thing to do.
Yeah.
But the impact that's going to have on even just one person, it's worth it. Because I'd rather they were able to come into the trust and be comfortable being like on site and using our services than come on site and go away thinking, actually, I probably wouldn't go back.
Yeah, just absolutely brilliant. Thank you. What have you been planning on within the networks at the moment?
I don't think what else we've been up to.
What can you tell us?
So, yeah, because that's the thing. Some stuff hasn't been signed off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have got, I can't tell you who, but we have got, I think I mentioned last time, or India might have or Edward might have mentioned it, that we've got something called a network maturities framework, which is like an NHS standard for how these networks are set up and run, to make sure they're run properly, and sort of, it's kind of like a governance thing, like everything's minuted and there's agendas and everything else. Part of that involves requiring a member of the board to support a network and be like a link directly with the board, so that if we've got any big issues we want to raise, we don't have to wait until the next board meeting that has a slot for us. We can mention it to our executive sponsor and have that direct link, because that's the whole point, is that it gets to the people that need to hear about it. And we finally have one.
Yay!
For the LGBT network, which is absolutely awesome. It's still going through all the usual stuff of agreeing and signing and making it proper. So I can't tell you who it is yet, because we haven't even said it in-house who it is yet. But once we do, then next time I come down, I'll let you know who it is, because I'm really excited about it.
Fantastic.
Really looking forward to working with them.
It is LGBTQ plus History Month. It's February. What have you got planned and what's been going on?
We've got quite a bit going on. So I think a week tomorrow, next Thursday, the amazing team down in our in the Royal, which is our on-site restaurant in Trelisk, have put together a really awesome menu of all things rainbow. I still haven't seen what they're planning yet. They're keeping it under wraps, but I know it's not just going to be a plate of unicorn cupcakes in the corner. They have done all sorts of things.
You got a rainbow rose this morning.
I did. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you, Babs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got that. We've worked with Queer Kerno. We're hoping to get them in on site to share some of their stuff, but obviously because of COVID and we're still not letting visitors on site to protect our patients, we're sharing a digital link. So we get weekly comms going out to all of our staff with like all things Trelisk, everything that's going on, in a wellbeing email. So we're going to include the link in that to share just different stories from their online archive. And we're promoting that in our library space as well. Fantastic. Who have also pulled together a bunch of their LGBT books to do with LGBT history and put that on a display in the library, so that even our students that come down from uni on placement get to see what's going on. So everybody's getting some level of exposure to it. Obviously, I've already told you about the sanitary waste bins.
Why is it important for you to celebrate and talk about LGBTQ plus History Month in the hospital and as a network?
I think it's important to be discussing it everywhere, and a lot of people, if you don't put it in front of the path they take for their working day, they're not going to see it. If you're not LGBT, you're probably not going to go and look up LGBT history. In fact, quite a few LGBT people are really pants at looking up our history, myself included. So it's awesome we've got people like Sophie and Nikki with Queer Kerno doing what they do. Because I've learned so much from them, and I've only known them since the Pride Bus Tour last year. So I've learned loads already. And I've embedded it in the training I deliver on site as well. So quite often I'll be asked to go and deliver transgender awareness training to colleagues who generally, if they're usually just a bit uncertain, because we don't have a huge transgender community in Cornwall. They're there, but there's a lot more people that aren't than are.
Okay.
So there's not that much exposure, and a lot of people that work at the trust want to know if somebody from that community walked in, I just want to make sure I don't end up inadvertently upsetting them or saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And they just worry about it.
Yeah.
So we put together this half-hour training session, a few basics of this is what pronouns are, this is how to use them, questions not to ask, reasons why these are important for us as a trust to get right. But the first thing I start off with is pointing out a few key figures from history that were trans.
Yeah.
One of them was mentioned on the thing we looked at earlier, Alan Hart. And the reason that I include him is because he discovered the use of using X-rays to diagnose tuberculosis.
Wow.
So it really relates to the work that our staff are doing.
That saved millions of lives?
Yeah. And it just brings it back into actually, these aren't just it's not just a them over there kind of thing. This is people that we work with, that we care for. They're part of our community as a healthcare community just as much. And actually, if trans people had, Alan Hart was like back in the early 1900s, where there was no support, and he still achieved that. So what else could be done if we had if we had proper support in place anyway?
Yeah, all
if we
the
weren't
way
holding them back,
all the way through the community and the different communities. Yeah, absolutely. How do people get connected to the network if they're not accessing the network at the moment?
So I would say, firstly, the easiest way is to find me, ask me for details, and I can either pass it on to our network chair, Rachel. She works over at CCG. Usually I'd say to people, email Rachel and she'll add you to the mailing list and send you the invites for the meetings.
Fantastic.
We keep the meetings closed rather than just saying to people, this is when it is, just join.
Is there an email address to get connected to straight away?
There is, but it's staff facing, so I can't give it out.
Cool, no worries.
But there is one. They can
find it on your internal network.
Yeah, find it on the intranet. It'll be on CFT and CCG's intranet pages as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Fab. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And thank you for sharing that kind of the ideas and the networking, because it's, again, so important. We're going to go to a song and then we're going to go to queering. So the song happens to be, I'm going to see them next week, which is really excited. Perrin Hooper with 2K20 Blues, again at Cornwall Pride 2021. We've got 10 minutes.
Okay, here's 2K20 Blues. Kind of a sore time. I thought this was going to be a normal year, but it wasn't. I call this the 2K20 Blues. Oh, we had no clue. Oh, this rose-tainted view. Yeah, we saw right through 2K20 blues. Now I lay in my bed, the endless Sunday washed over my head. Melancholy Monday has a new friend, and it's what we all dread. Decade brought us these blues. Shifting tides of the who. Shield my face from these changing, unsettling moods. Didn't mean to get you down, but have you seen the news? Leaders looking like clowns. 2K20 blues. Now to my kazoo, to help me share my blues and express my views, solo from my kazoo.
just the incredible Perrin Hooper. Now, we've got very, very little time to do this. This is queering. This is our new segment. Guest, you've been prepped, but you don't know the questions.
No.
We have roughly 30 quick questions to go on everything about you. You ready? You ready to sweat, more importantly?
More than I already am.
Okay, good. So what do you do?
So, as I said earlier, I work in HR and I'm the EDI LGBT equality lead.
Fantastic. Any planned holidays?
None at the minute.
Where in the world is on the top of your bucket list?
I desperately want to go back to Mexico. I've been there a couple of times, loved it. I want to go back.
What one thing have you always got in your fridge?
Chocolate, definitely.
What activities at the top of your bucket list?
I want to go paddleboarding again. I did it once, loved it. Just never get the chance to.
The most amazing person you've ever met?
Oh, that's really tough. Because I can't remember who I met. But
anyone famous?
Oh, I don't know. Yes, can we come back to that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
What career other than the one you have now?
Well, you don't know, but I was training to be a paramedic before I had this job. So if I couldn't do this, I'd go back and do that.
Top queer musician?
Pink.
Top musician?
Still Pink.
What's your favourite track of all time?
It's a Pink one. I just can't think what it's called. Probably Beautiful Trauma from her newest album anyway.
Dog or cat?
Oh, cats.
Tell us a story about your animals.
So actually last night I was feeding the cat and she forgot we had a dog. We've only had a dog since December. She came barreling down the stairs, flew over the baby gate to keep them separate because they're not getting on yet. Then realised we had a dog because the dog came running in like, oh my God, hi. And couldn't get back over the gate to escape. So I had to pick her up, check over the gate.
What's your favourite organisation to work with?
I'm probably obliged to say Trelisk, but they are. I do like working there. They are good.
Fab. What organisation would you like to work with?
If not Trelisk, probably something massive. So like British Airways or someone crazy big like that.
Worst subject in school?
I hated history, which explains a lot.
If you were on a desert island, who would you want to be stuck with?
I'm going to cheat and say Bear Grylls so I can get off the island.
Okay, fine. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you in work?
That
you're allowed to share.
Oh, that narrows it down. I don't know. I have to come back to that one.
Okay. Any queer people inspiring you today?
Quite a few. So we binge watched Pose, the most recent season.
Yeah.
Loved it. Absolutely, MJ Rodriguez. But also, he was Prey. Played Prey, but I can't think what Billy Porter. Yes.
What's your biggest phobia?
Spiders or being trapped.
What was your favourite subject in school?
I was a proper geography nerd. I absolutely love geography.
Oh, I love that. So did I. Which project has been your favourite of all time?
Project, as in
work project or life project.
Work project. Work project. I'd probably say the stuff I'm working on at the minute, trying to get a equality standard for LGBT that's national. Really enjoying working on that.
What famous person would you take out for a drink or clubbing?
I'd nearly said Pink, but I feel like I'm using her for everything. Clubbing with Lady Gaga would be probably pretty awesome.
Yeah.
If she wasn't swamped by everyone else.
What's your favourite TV show?
For like a go-to comfort noise, The Simpsons, easily.
Oh, favourite film?
Anything with Tom Hanks in.
Okay. Superheroes or not?
As in, do I like them or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was your favourite?
I was really championing for Black Widow all the way through the Avengers movies, like wanting her to have her own movie, and then they did. So,
what 3 things would you take to a space station?
I've got probably my Stitch cuddly toy. Chocolate, because apparently the food they eat is not amazing. And I don't know, something that would do something weird in space, just so I can see what it's like. I don't know. Just a bottle of water and open it to see what happens.
You might kill the space station. Do you read books?
Yep.
What's the last book you read?
I'm actually reading the Last Kingdom, the TV show. Yeah. Reading the books. I'm on the second one at the minute.
What's your favourite character in the book?
the main one. I've only read like literally the first one and the second one.
Favorite human, full stop, on the planet, dead or alive.
Oh, I'll say you, because we get on really well. So
that was not planned. Yeah. We'd have emotion.
Yeah.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Favorite, funniest person in the winter, in the world? I'm blushing.
Funniest person?
Yes.
I don't know. Oh, Russell Howard.
Oh, I love him so much. Would you rather?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Snuggle.
Yep.
A meerkat.
Okay.
An owl.
Yeah.
Or a beaver.
Probably an owl because the feather's really soft.
Oh, I love that. And next queer event, what would you want it to be?
What's the next one I want to go to?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, I'm probably looking forward to the next Q night down here.
Fantastic.
But also looking forward to all of our prides.
All of the prides.
All of them.
All of the prides in May, June, and July. That is it. That's queering. Thank you so much, Mikey.
That was quick.
Yeah, it was quick. And you do actually get a little bit of a sweat on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's intense.
That was careering. Thank you so much for this week. A huge thank you to Mikey. And we will see you in a couple of weeks' time.